All right, hello everyone. I know we're up against the NFL today, but hey, my team is lost, so my team is out of it. But this is this Sunday time slot. This is the perfect time slot to have guests, SMEs, subject matter experts, and Anita Stoudmire, who, if you're unfamiliar with her, some of you will get to know her today. So she was gracious enough to come over today and to talk about her book, Choose Well, and also her Better Love movement. So now on this channel has evolved. So I want to make it more of an interview type of format, and also commentary. You'll see a lot of commentary on current events in society, on a macro level, but also as it relates to the Black community. And so let me make sure this is broadcasting on YouTube. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. This is the first stream here for 2026, and it's also my last usage of this PC. I bought a new one, and I'm trying to get it to work and get all the bells and whistles on it. So let me make sure. Yep, there is the ad. Thank you to everyone who smashed the like button. I'm going to play my Curtis Skool intro. My mother joked. I think she thought that I was doing a Godfather, a Don Corleone imitation, but this is Curtis Skool's actual voice in this intro. And I think it very much speaks to what we're going to talk about today. There are no political solutions for cultural deficiencies. Okay. I mean, you could probably legislate some of what we're going to talk about today, but there's no way to. A lot of this is cultural and societal. And in the home level. So I'll see you on the other side. Money Motion, thank you for stopping through. You're the first one. If you are watching on my side or Anita's side, this is broadcasting to Anita's side as well. Please smash that like button either way. I'll see you on the other side. So, where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information.
That we will rush to finish things that are important so we can do things that are not. And I believe it's an immaturity there. People just don't understand that, life isn't about having fun all the time. You have to have fun sometimes, I agree. But as an adult, there's time where you have to just say, okay, listen, I got to get down to work right now. And I don't think enough of us value that time or really understand the fruits of that labor. Somehow we think things are just going to be without that kind of effort. And culturally, there's a deficiency there. That's why I always say that there's no political solution for cultural deficiencies.
So, where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. All right, everyone, welcome back to Big Discussions 76. My name is Dr. Anwar Dunbar, and today I'm hosting author and therapist Anita Stoudmire. There were two things from the intro there that stood out to me. I note I clipped off in the beginning, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everyone is privy to the same information. There are people that don't know about the things that me and Anita are going to talk about today. Just as there are people who are not privy to what's being talked about on YouTube and independent media. So the whole subject matter that we're going to talk about today a lot of families, particularly older boomers, are looking at their families and wondering why there's so many single people and why they're not partnered. So I think that, and there's a reason I played that twice. My mother said when she watched this, that repeated. There's a reason I repeated that, because that's very significant. We're all living in different spaces, and we're all experiencing the world differently, and a lot of things have changed. And then the other thing Curtis said there was, life is not about having fun all the time. One key way of having fun today is traveling, and me and Anita, we're going to talk about that. So I've been looking at what's happening on the feminine side for a little bit now. This book was called to my attention. I have a vast library, The Richer Sex by Liza Mundy. This talks about how gender roles have been reformed, and how the genders are adapting to it or not adapting to it. So this is a little more macro. And depending upon what you say about this, you can get in trouble. I think I did a voiceover on this, read a chapter, and said that the genders have been re-engineered. I got in trouble with someone for saying that, but others are talking about it as well. So it's not just me. Crimson Cure, I have her book, Reclaiming the Black Feminine. This is zooming in on the Black community. This is a good book. That sister does a lot of great work on a daily basis, discussing some of the things we're going to talk about today. And as we're heading into Black History Month, I think I am going to do something next month on Shahrazad Ali, because I think all of this, we're fortunate to have, even though I think she was kept a little quiet, we were fortunate to have women stepping forward and advocating and asking questions and talking to younger generations of women about what they're doing, and where their lives are going, and just how our community is going to survive and go forward into the future. Because in many cases, it's not clear how that's going to happen. And you almost have to wonder, is that important anymore, versus living one's best life, versus being independent, versus one being strong-minded and independent and being a boss, and so on and so on, et cetera, et cetera. So Anita has written her own book, and I don't want to give it away, but there's one more on the way. But this is her book, Choose Well, and I think it's a very, very fitting title. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about her Better Love movement. And so with that, everybody, let's welcome up Anita Stoudmire, the founder of the Better Love movement and the author of Choose Well. Anita.
Hello. Hi,
welcome.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great.
Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate you coming and sharing your experiences and your expertise. I still consider myself a smaller YouTuber, and you've been on with Dr. L pretty regularly. You've been on with Jeb, so I appreciate you coming in and sharing your knowledge and experience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. Well, I have quite a few questions here for you. And unfortunately, you didn't say, all right, that's too many. So let's start with the first one. And I ask everybody this. In as much detail as you feel comfortable sharing, who is Anita Stoudmire?
So I am a mother of 3 amazing young adults. I am someone who loves to garden, someone who loves to cook. I enjoy laughing and making other people laugh. I enjoy being in nature, and I am a huge animal lover. So that's what people who are closest to me are going to say, because that is at the core of who I am. I am a Christ follower. That is also what most people are going to say, that's at the core of who I am. I definitely identify as God's daughter, and I try my best every day to represent him in a way that is fitting for the kingdom. So those are the things that come immediately to my mind when I think about who am I. But I also, in a professional sense, I am a licensed clinical therapist. I have a private practice here in Virginia, in Richmond. And I primarily see couples for couples therapy. So that's what I am most passionate about right now. I do have some individual clients, but I am very passionate about couples therapy right now because marriage needs all the help it can get, especially in 2026. It needs a lot of help. I have also been a podcast host of my own podcast, which has now ended because podcasting is incredibly hard. So I applaud anyone who can do it consistently for any length of time and can monetize it. That's an amazing feat. And I love to write. I find that to be a wonderful way to reach people outside of my Instagram platform, my Facebook platform, and my YouTube channel. So I love writing. I've just completed a third book. This book is actually going to be an ebook. So I'm not going to have this book printed, but I believe the information in it is crucial to women today. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. A couple of things I thought about as you answered that question. You said you were into gardening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you come from a traditional nuclear family where your parents together until?
My parents were together until they were not. So they are divorced. My grandparents were together until death do they part. And it is my grandmother that she's the one who passed down my love of cooking, my love of gardening. My grandmother had chickens in her backyard. She had a goat in her backyard that she regularly got goat's milk from and made cheese and everything. So I have been told by my own mother that I am in a lot of ways like my grandmother. So there were a lot of things my grandmother did that skipped my mother and they came down to me.
Okay. Before I fired up the stream, I did share with Anita, and I'll probably share it with the audience again after this, but I did share that when I go home for the holidays, I tell my mother, Mom, there aren't a lot of women left like you. And that's in part personality and temperament, but also in terms of the cooking aspect and the sewing aspect. My mother can sew and stitch things together, and she crochets. And so when you meet someone today, there was a woman in my office who gardened. And I remember telling one of my buddies, wow, so-and-so gardens. I mean, I've never really, so when you hear that someone can garden and they enjoy cooking, and they still enjoy cooking and they can do those little tasks that I think we all of us take for granted, it's, it makes you do a double take.
For sure. Especially in 2026. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think you described this a little bit in your book, but how did you get into therapy?
So I have been a relationship scientist for 25 years now. And you could say it was my parents' divorce. You could say it was my own divorce. But I've always been fascinated by relationships, and especially romantic relationships, wanting to know what are the relationship skills and what makes relationships last, what makes relationships good and healthy and fulfilling, just wanting to understand that. But coming from, like I said, my own family, my own mom and dad's divorce, and their subsequent divorces. So that made me incredibly curious about marriage, about relationships. What does it take to have a happy, healthy, fulfilling marriage? So I've always been a curious person. I've always been a person that wants to learn, that wants to grow. I don't ever want to be in the same place in life. I want to be found in many different places. And so I went on my own journey of just reading everything I could find. One of the things that's interesting to note about me is if I pick up someone's book, I will reach out to the author. And about half the time, the author actually responds because, I want more information about some of the things that I found in their book. So I've had some pretty amazing mentors throughout my life, especially when it comes to relationship science, just trying to understand what makes healthy relationships. What type of people do we have to be to have healthy relationships. That's something that's always fascinated me.
Okay. And I think we'll get into this a little bit more, but that's something that's probably gotten lost
Yeah.
over the decades. I want to acknowledge Bruce Merriweather here from the Buffalo Criterion. That's my hometown. He's in charge of one of the Black newspapers there. And salute to everybody else in the chat who's watching with us. If you have questions for Anita, please feel free to ask as well. So I did ask Jeff St. James this, but I think it's a good refresher for all of us. Can you briefly describe the difference between a therapist and a counselor?
Technically, there is no difference, right? A therapist and a counselor is one and the same, right? It's the licensed in front of it. So you can be a lay counselor. So you are unlicensed. You can be a pastoral counselor. You may not be licensed, but I think when we hear the word therapist, we think about clinical training, someone who is licensed and clinically trained. But technically, my LPC is licensed professional counselor. But yes, that qualifies me as a therapist. So it's the licensed in front of it that would probably make it different.
Okay. Now, and if I recall from one of your offerings, therapy is not something that should be ongoing in perpetuity. It should terminate at some point.
And a lot of people, because we're in this, like ever since the pandemic, we're in this hyper therapized space where even in movies, even in television shows, we've heard about characters being in therapy for 5 years, 10 years. No, it is never supposed to work that way. Therapy is something that you're going to come into when you're struggling or you have a very specific issue, you have very specific goals. So therapy, especially if we're going to utilize insurance, we have to have a very specific goal in mind. We have to create a treatment plan, and we have to have goals and how we're going to hit those goals and hit those markers. Most insurance is not going to allow people to be in therapy for 5 years or 10 years. Now, maybe if someone is paying out of pocket, that's a different experience. But I am considered a solution-focused brief therapist. So I don't work with people longer than a year continually, right? So if we've been working together for a year and I don't see you hitting any of those goals, I don't see any improvement, that's when I look to discharge you. I say, hey, maybe it's me, maybe I'm not effective, maybe I'm not the right person for you, but I discharge people because what are we doing? You're not getting better and we're not hitting any goals that we set at the beginning of therapy. So this space, because I blame it on the pandemic, right? That everybody's running into therapy and plenty of people have been in therapy multiple years and they are not getting better. They are not applying anything that they're learning in the therapeutic space. But it technically, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year at best, you should see marked improvement. You should be able to be discharged and move on. And unless something new comes up, unless you have a new issue or a new concern, you should be able to use the tools that you learned and apply them to your life and feel better.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've been, even if you don't watch them directly, you've seen some of the clips from the Pop the Balloon thing. And apparently, if you're not in therapy today, then something's wrong with you. You're not doing work on yourself, and you're not doing work on yourself if you're not in therapy. So that's
right.
Interesting. Okay.
But again, it's a trend. It's something that's trendy. I've had people show up in my practice when I was doing more individual work, and their exact wording for coming to the practice is, well, everybody's doing it. So yeah, I'm here because, it's the thing to do. I want to try therapy, and I don't work with them. I have turned down many a client that has no real reason to be there.
Okay. And I think you mentioned this, the type of therapy you do, is it either men or women, or is it couples or both?
So now I've focused on couples in the last year. There are individuals that I still see. They're what I call grandfathered in. So when my practice started 6 years ago, I was seeing everybody. And then I started to hone in on things that I wanted to work with people on. I started getting certifications in various different things, and I started to niche down. And so now I do primarily work with couples. I do have some individual male clients, individual female clients. And I am certified in a lot of different types of therapy. I am a Gottman trained therapist, which is that couples counseling, that marital therapy. I also have training in imago therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. So there's several different modalities of therapy that I have certification in and training in, and I try to utilize those in the couples therapy space.
Okay, before we move on to the next question, let's see, couples therapy. I'm going to admit that I did that once, and it was a little scary, because I'm sure you can attest to this. A couple will come in with two different stories, and they'll come in with two different viewpoints on one thing that actually happened. And so there could be a difference in the perception of time, or when it happened, how long it happened, how it happened. And then sometimes your partner will say things to the therapist that they haven't said to you about you. So it can be a little, therapy can be a little scary in terms of couples. And if both people are not invested, that can make things a little dicey as well.
Right. Well, one thing I pride myself on in my couples therapy is the men and their reaction. It's so interesting to me, because they're always, 90% of men are dragged into therapy by the woman, and they're not coming there of their own volition. They've been ultimatumed, but after 2 sessions, they start to schedule sessions. And I am very proud of that, because they admit to me, like, you are objective. You are objective. I don't feel you ganging up on me. I feel very comfortable. I feel empowered. I had a man just last week say, I feel empowered in your sessions to finally say what I have not been able to say for 20 years. So I am very blown away. like, thank you, So yeah, I've been noticing that, where now men are like, we need to talk to Anita, because they know I'm going to make them comfortable. I'm going to be objective. I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to call it like I see it, which is straight down the middle. And they're like, oh, okay, because that is a fear they have, that I'm going to be ganged up on. I'm not going to be listened to. It's going to be super serious. I have a more jovial style. And so, I have lots of men that will talk to me by themselves. They'll say, oh, my wife is not coming because you said something that, you held her accountable about something, but I want to come back. That happens a lot. So,
well, I'm going to be discreet here, but I think, first of all, I want to applaud you for being objective, but I think what you're speaking to is that the person usually recommending the couples counseling is going in and seeking for the counselor to choose their side.
Yep. Of course.
Which in some instances does happen. Yes. And which is why.
Oh yeah. But I want each of them to learn that they are half of that whole, right? They're going to play a part. So even if someone is behaving badly, there's still the other half that I have to address, right? Even if it's the person allowing the bad behavior to get to this point, you're still playing a part in all of this happening. And I need that other person to see that.
Okay. This is, this is gonna work us back to therapy, but this is could be a touchy one for people watching. But I'm sure you've gotten this question, and I apologize if this name angers you, but were you offended by Kevin Samuels and his show?
No, because we, if I'm being honest, 90% of the way we see things, going today, we were in agreement. So 90% of what he said, I was in agreement. The 10% was when he got triggered, right? He would get triggered and then he would get real disrespectful. And he would say it was because I guess that other person got real disrespectful. That's the part that I didn't jive with, because I am a true believer in men and masculinity and stoicism. And, I believe that a man should be that role model. And there were times where, whether it's something the woman said, something that she did, but it would trigger him. And then he would step out of that role. He wouldn't be the role model. He would start that way. And I was like, yay, stay there, stay in that strong, stoic, masculine, just very cut and dry, very, this is what it is. But if he got triggered out of that, he would then reveal this other side of himself. And it would be disrespectful. It would be real disrespectful. It would be petty. And see, I don't come from that land. So that part would kind of turn me off, because I'm like, yeah, see, you done lost me. You lost the frame of the conversation. So once a man loses the frame of a conversation and he kind of gets down in the muck with the woman, it's like two women. So that very much turned me off. But what he was saying, we're the same person. I have been accused of that. I've been accused of saying some of the same things that he said. I just happened to be in female form saying it. So it was not what he was saying. He wasn't wrong. And as many people who are true, like Kevin Samuels fans, there were plenty. I've even posted plenty of videos where he was telling men about themselves. Like, dude, you don't have a job. Like, you want a feminine woman and you don't work. So it wasn't just coming for women. He and I thought the same about a lot of things. Like, a man should strive to be the best version of himself, and a woman should be the best feminine version of herself, right? And that we have roles. Like, I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in gender roles. I am the woman in the dynamic. I have the parts to prove it. And I want the man to be the man in the dynamic. So 90% of what he said, I agreed with, because I was like, yeah. I mean, now he talked about men exercising options, and if they make a certain amount of money, they're allowed to cheat. No, I'm never going to agree with that. But like I said, more often than not, we're saying the same thing, he and I.
Okay. Now, as a therapist, I asked Jeff the same question. Why do you think he championed therapy as much as he did for the callers into his show? What was he seeing? And likewise, what do you see that might have caused that?
Well, I think the biggest problem in the community, period, and I'm not even going to pick on the Black community, I'm going to say across the board, is just emotional immaturity. I think people today, and it's like shocking, I pride myself in being a good grown-up. I love being a grown-up. I love being the bigger person. I love being an adult. And I don't understand people above the age of 21 who don't want to be that. I don't understand that. I had a childhood. I had a very good childhood. I got to soak up my parents' resources for about 18 years, and I had a great childhood. But I truly believe that, once I became an adult, now I'm in charge of having a great adulthood, and I'm really good at it. So I'm shocked by the number of people, men and women, who do not want to grow up. They don't want to be emotionally mature, financially mature, mentally and spiritually mature. And I think he saw a lot of that, just women who were emotionally immature. They didn't want to grow up. They didn't want to leave that maiden princess archetype. I pride myself on being the queen. I pride myself on being a sage archetype woman, someone who's older, someone who's earned every day of every year that I've been here. I'm very proud of that. I'm not going to try to compete with younger women. I'm not interested. Like, I love everything that I've learned in my almost 58 years of living. I love it here. So I don't understand that, but I think he saw a lot of that. He saw a lot of trauma. He saw, I mean, we've all, like I said, my parents, my mom's been married 3 times. My dad is on his 4th marriage. Okay. So we, and, I lived a very almost military childhood in the sense of moved around a lot, went to a lot of different schools, had to learn how to make friends quickly, so that kind of childhood. I have great memories. I have awesome memories. And I think it's made me the person that I am. It's the reason why I can be put in a lot of different rooms and situations, and I can talk to a lot of different people. However, I gave my children the exact opposite, because that's actually what I really wanted. I wanted to buy a home. I wanted to put my kids in kindergarten and have them go from kindergarten all the way through high school, living in that same home and going to school with those same children. So I didn't have that, but I did give my kids that. And so I think he saw just a lot of stuff in people, like, man, go talk to somebody, like sit on somebody's couch. I mean, man, and be held accountable. The greatest thing, in my humble opinion, about being a therapist is I get to be a role model. I get to be the person, and people tell me this all the time. I have never met like a woman like you. I've never met a calm, assured, mature like woman. And so I get to be that role model for a lot of men and a lot of women, because they've never seen that. My mom was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug user. My mom had men and women in and out of the house. My mom smoked and cursed and this and that. And so to sit in front of someone who is just a, calm, warm, mature person who's here for them week after week, that is what we call modeling secure attachment. And a lot of people need that. They've never seen that. They've seen a lot of chaos in their life. And so that is normal. I am abnormal. You're like, oh my God, Anita, you're not cursing, you're not yelling. I'm like, no, this is what we need to get used to. Okay. So I think he saw that. I think he saw that in the women that he talked with.
Yeah. So you initially focused on maturity. I thought the first thing you would mention was trauma, because I know that for myself, my upbringing was very safe and very vanilla. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, finished college, met other people, got out into the world, I realized, wow, everybody's life was not very vanilla. They had some things going on at home. Yeah. They had some things going on in their neighborhoods. I'll just keep that discreet there. But okay.
And so I see it everywhere. I see people's traumas and their stuff just everywhere. And we have to address it. We have to let people know that now, and this is what I love about being an adult, I can create vanilla. And that's what I did. See, now that I am no longer at the whims of these adult people, I can create that calm, stable, secure environment. I can create it for myself. And now I've given it to my children. So that's my biggest message. You're going to reparent yourself. You're going to give yourself what maybe your parents didn't even give you. Give that to yourself. And so that's changed the game for me, is now I gave myself that.
Okay. All right. And yeah, a lot of that trauma, it can come from family. It could come
Yeah.
from
Oh yeah.
parents. So
Oh
some of
yeah.
us leave the home with things, unresolved
Yep.
things.
Yep.
And you can't. A friend used to say, we can't control the family that we're born into.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
you just have to make the best of it. So we're going to segue into your book shortly. But having been married yourself, being the mother and now therapist, in as much, could be very open-ended, but in as much detail as you want to, as you can think of, how do you think heterosexual relationships have changed since that time, when we were younger? Because we're both Gen Xers.
Yeah. Yeah. So gender roles, that's the biggest change that we see. Feminism, truly, the seed of it planted years and years ago, it has now become this, it's now become this oak tree. But gender roles is the biggest thing I see. The loss of polarity in heterosexual relationships, where we've all been sold this lie that we're interchangeable and we're not. I recently did a video on just men not seeing the value in women outside of sex, and how sad that makes me, because there was a time where women had immense value to a man, and it wasn't just sex, it wasn't just sexual value. But I can't deny what the men are saying and seeing, because to them, yeah, the woman won't cook, she won't clean, she doesn't bring ideas, she doesn't bring comfort or peace, or so I guess, like, okay, I can't deny that's what they're saying, that she doesn't bring any value, Anita. And I'm like, So again, that's why I'm seeking to work with women. And that's what my coaching primarily concentrates on, is women, and bringing their value back again to a man, to their children, to the world, because there are gifts and talents that every woman, I believe, is born with, but she has to acknowledge it. She has to bring it forward and say, this is my value.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
outside of her beauty, outside of her sexuality, outside of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna say something controversial here. Well, for myself, it's not controversial, but a lot of that messaging is coming. And salute to Jeff St. James. A lot of that's coming from the top down, from the political class and from the university.
Yeah.
You just described the collapsing of the gender roles, but the whole cooking, taking care of a husband, that's frowned upon from a number of parties. So that's being socialized and conditioned and reinforced in somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Those homemaking skills. And, as someone who was married and was a stay-at-home wife and mother while I was married, so I stayed at home for 12 years. I take great pride in, I still take great pride in, even though, I own businesses, but I take great pride in taking a house, right? Buying a house or renovating a house. And a year later, that house is turned into a home. So decorating it, keeping it clean, keeping it organized. I'm an organization freak. Everybody says that. Like, that's the thing that people know about me, is there is a place for everything in my home. I take great pride in that. Decorating my home, organizing my home, keeping my home clean, keeping my home smelling good. I just take great pride in that. And I notice that a lot of women don't. Like, there's nothing worse than a disorganized, cluttered, filthy home. I can't relax. Like, I can't feel comfortable and relax in an environment like that. So I don't understand that, but I have been over to some of my female girlfriends, my girlfriends' homes, and I'm like, what is happening in here? And they're like, oh, here we go. I'm like, I I don't know what this is, because and again, it's even beyond a man. Like, how can you be your best feminine self in this? Right? It's for you. It is a side effect for him, but it is for you. It is a side effect for your children, but I can't live like that. So that's what I don't understand. Like, why are you living like this? Right? Because I've been accused a lot of, oh, well, you're doing this for a man and doing that. No, I'm doing this for me. Like, this is the place that I can thrive in. This is a kind of a side effect for the other people in my world. So that's what I'm trying to sell to women, that, you know, when I step into my bedroom, I want it to smell great. I want it to be clean. My bed is always made. Everything is in its place. I feel amazing in that room. And I want to try to help women to understand that this is your sanctuary. This is a place that you should feel your best in. And so, yes, other people that come into my room, and my kids always say it, it's so clean in here. Everything is perfect. I'm like, I know. See? So they benefit too. Same with, you know, a good home cooked meal. I'm doing that for me. That's how I maintain my 135-pound frame. And other people happen to benefit, you know, but I'm eating a good home cooked meal because I know what's in it. So that's what I don't get. It's like, don't you want to take care of yourself? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. As you were saying that, I was just thinking about the unpaid labor piece, which is another something else that's kind of seeped, rose to the top of the lake. We don't want to give unpaid labor to a men and family.
But I'm going to do it for me. That's why it doesn't make sense. I'm going to keep a clean home for me. I'm going to cook nutritious meals for me. I'm going to grow my vegetables for me. I'm going to take care of the pets for me. I'm going to water my indoor plants for me. Like, I don't, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. They are like, they're going to be the recipient of that, but it's because I'm already doing it. Right? I don't understand that. Yeah.
To the audience, no matter which side you're watching on, please smash the like button. If you want to make a donation on either side, feel free to do so. My CashApp and PayPal are in the ticker there. So Anita, so we have a tendency to romanticize the past, and I've done a lot of thinking. And even though grandma and grandpa and great grandma and great grandpa, even though they stayed together, they may not have been 100% happy. But even in the past, this type of book and this type of thought about heterosexual relationships, was this thing needed years ago? That we need books on marriage and counseling.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yep. I believe so. I believe that there's a book, and I'm going to see if I can bring the name of it. It's called The Top Shelf Wife. She's actually an author that I had on my podcast. And what I love about her book is there's a chart in it that talks about, her name is Dr. Angela Carswell. I want to shout her out. Dr. Angela Carswell wrote a book called The Top Shelf Wife. And it is the manual, in my humble opinion. Like, she needs to start a wife school and open it up to young women, 15, 16, all the way up to their 50s. But it is the manual on how to be a good, healthy wife to a man. If you choose to get married, then women today, in my humble opinion, need instruction on how to be a good wife. And that book is an excellent resource where she literally talked about, there's a whole chart in there of everything, that the value of a woman, and especially outside of sex. Like there's lots of value that a woman should bring to her husband. So yes, I think we needed it in the 40s and we definitely need it today. But, perfect example. I always bring the example of when I went to middle school, high school, we had home economics. So that's what the whole idea of home economics was. We got to learn how to do budgeting. We got to learn how to cook. We got to learn how to sew and iron and all of the things, right? That was a big thing when I was in middle school, high school. That doesn't exist anymore. And for young men, it was shop. It was the woodworking and shop, and they had a how to fix cars. That was a whole thing. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I think my cohort, I think we got the last of that. And I don't think they did a good job of explaining. We got it in middle school, but I don't think they did a good job explaining why this stuff was going to be important as we got older. I think that was probably, they were probably starting to dissolve the gender roles at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm going to slip this question in here from Ray Alexander. He loves this stuff. He's definitely egalitarian. He says some women are unrealistic about their options in the dating market. Do you believe that some men are also unrealistic in attempting to date/marry women out of their range for a mate?
Of course. I mean, there are going to be men who I had this very hard conversation with a couple the other day, and they're a Hispanic couple. And so if you're familiar with the Hispanic community, there is this thing that's called machismo, right? And they called it something else in their language. And so I understand where they're coming from, which is the man, he has this machismo. He has this bravado about him that says there's just certain expectations of the wife, right? That she's going to do the homemaking, she's going to do the child rearing and things of that nature. And, that works fine if you are the sole provider. But we had to tell the husband, hey, your wife is contributing financially quite a bit. Like she's helping you do your role, right? So you're not 100% provider, but yet you don't want to help her with her role. And so we had to explain, like, to a lot of couples, that day is dead. If you need help paying the bills, you're going to help her with homemaking and child rearing. And that's just that. Now, I was married to a 100% provider man. So we went into the marriage. That was the best thing about our marriage, is that we believed in gender roles. He had no problem being the man. He had no problem paying all the bills at all. He was like, I want to stay at home wife and mother. That is your role. That's what you're going to, I don't need your help financially. So I often tell couples today, I feel bad for y'all, because I don't know if I could survive doing what y'all are doing. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do any of this. I like my role as a woman. But today, a lot of people are screaming, the economy, there has to be two incomes. Okay, then everybody, so it's like we each need two full-time jobs, but guess what? At home is a full-time job. So we have to split that full-time job. Childcare and homemaking, the man and woman now must split. So I hear that a lot. Men who want, I want her to be very traditional. Okay, but you've got to pay all the bills. Yeah. So, yeah.
So we're going to come back to this, but knowing Ray Alexander, I know I think where he's going with this is also the financial side. If you're an 80K man, should you be shooting for a woman who makes 150K or 200K? So punching in your weight class. I think that's what he's doing. But we're gonna come back to the finances and settling and whatnot. Yeah. So before you went on Jeff's show and started partnering regularly with Dr. L, You came up in my algorithm, and when I saw
Okay.
you, I was like, whoa, who's this woman? I mean, you give correction to men as well, but I was like,
Yep.
whoa, who's this woman assertively? That's the word you use, assertively,
Yep.
verbally shaking the women. This is
Mhm.
necessary, but I'm not used to seeing this. What did you see? I think we've covered some of this already, but what did you see that made you start to come to cyberspace and start voicing your points of view for the women?
Right. The biggest disappointment, like I said, is that prior to coming into this internet space or YouTube space or social media space, I had a high regard for women. I had an extremely, that's all I know is feminine women that, embrace their femininity, embrace their gender role. That's all I knew. And then when I started seeing something different, I was like, what is this? Like, what is happening? What is with these women that don't cook? What is with these women that keep a filthy home? Like, what is happening? And I started to see more and more of this avatar, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it because, if I'm being honest, it made me look bad. Like, I'm going to keep it a buck. It makes me look bad. It makes me not want to identify as a woman, as crazy as that sounds. And I was like, okay, somebody has to say something about this because this is not cool. I take great pride in being a woman. I take great pride in doing what I believe only women can do. I'm a big proponent of the power of the feminine. I believe the masculine has strength and the feminine has power. And these women were making me look bad. Like, I'm going to be honest. So I was like, yeah, somebody's got to say something. And then I heard a lot of, well, but Gen Xers are letting us down. They're not really teaching anymore. They're not, out here teaching younger women, or they're not guiding or directing. So I was like, okay, I volunteer as tribute because I can teach. I can show you some things. I can definitely teach you some things. I can tell you some things. But I didn't like what I was seeing. And it pulled me aback because the men were saying it. And I was like, no, this can't be true. And then I got out here and was like, it's true. They're not lying. These women have lost their mind. Yeah. So, yeah, that's when I said, okay, I need to start making some content about this because this is ridiculous. This cannot be happening. Not on my watch.
Okay, so thank you, Anita, for that. So for additional context, I'm going to add this. I might get tarred and feathered later, but Black History Month is coming up. So just as Anita says, she's proud of being a woman and takes pride in being a woman. Everybody think about the power and the danger of the Supreme Court justice that was appointed under Biden and not being able to say what a woman is. Think about the power in blurring that line and not being able to give a definitive discussion about what a woman is, even if it's just reproducing and how damaging that is. Okay, I want to thank Money Motion for the $5 super chat. He says, thank you, Anita, for pitching the message to women. Cooking and cleaning is for me and everyone else benefits. I have the same ethos for myself. And shout out to Mar from my Michigan football gang. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Let's see. Yeah, so can you talk briefly? I'm sure you get pushback, and I think you've mentioned you've gotten pushback. Can you talk about some of the pushback you've gotten for saying this information that can potentially save relationships and save family, save bloodlines?
Right.
What kind of pushback are you getting?
On occasion, I'll get pushback from men, right? Because I talk to them about polarity and I let them know that the polarity dynamic is dying. And so they don't ever want to be called less masculine, but there are less masculine men out here. And it may not be you. That's what I always tell them in the comments, sir. well, you lost me when you said men are becoming less masculine. Okay, sir, if you can be objective for a moment, maybe that doesn't apply to you, but we are seeing a drop in testosterone. We are seeing men who are losing their drive. They're losing their ambition. They're not creating anything. They're not building anything. There is a huge disparity between the 10% man and every other guy. So the 90% man. So there's still about 10, I'd say even 20% of men that are masculine. They're going out there, they're making things happen, and they are living in their purpose. They're on a mission, but that's about 20% of men. What are the other 80% doing? And so I've gotten some pushback from men about that, but the polarity is off. So definitely on the women's side, women not fully stepping into their feminine nature and seeing that as the power that it is, because it is incredibly powerful. I always tell women, you have the power to get men to do whatever you want. It is a very soft power. It is not built in ego or pride, but it is influential nonetheless. That's the power that I use, influence. Okay. So I've gotten pushback from the women who, have been sold the lie of feminism, that they can have it all and they can do anything a man can do. So I always get, a lot of comments about that, and me being a pick me and me being male centered. And to that, I always say, if my intention is to be married, I should be husband centered. Like I should be. I should care about the man that I want to marry me. I should care about his thoughts and his feelings. I should care about what is horrible about that. I should be husband centered. And, if he makes suggestions to me, I should care about that. Just like I want him to care about my thoughts and opinions and suggestions. So I get it on both sides, depending on what the piece of content is, because like I tell people, I am an equal opportunity offender to some degree. But I like to bring us back to truth, right? I'm a big believer in critically thinking. I'm a big believer in what we know is truth, but we can't say it today. It's not politically correct to talk about the truth anymore. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to add something to your list for a lack of masculine. And I think it gets back to what you just said about not being able to tell the truth. Another part of masculinity is being able to turn a wrench and fix things. Maybe changing a toilet, maybe getting under the hood of the car.
Yep.
And if your boys, and this is something you can't say, and I feel kind of odd saying it, but if your boys aren't raised around men, then they're not going to learn those types of things. They're just not. And so the uncomfortable part is, the uncomfortable question is, are some mothers today thinking about raising their boys around men, thinking about having fathers around? Are they picking? Which gets back to the title of your book. Are they choosing fathers? Okay.
Not even close.
So if you want to hit me with slings and arrows, everybody, go ahead.
Yeah.
But this all goes together.
Yeah, it does. They're not choosing good fathers for their children, and they're not choosing good husbands for them or good men for them. So it has been proven, and women, you can fight me on this, but you all suck at choosing. I did. I've never shied away from that. I made a bad choice. I recognize that now. I've made better choices since then, but I made a bad choice. And that has to be the beginning of coming to the awareness that, I made a bad choice. And I need to learn how to choose better, how to choose good fathers and good husbands. But most women, they suck at choosing. They use all the wrong metrics when they are choosing a man, and wonder why they're getting bad results over and over and over again.
Okay. Chasing Grace said, that's Ray Alexander. Chasing Grace says, I love Anita. Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Choosing well. Okay. This is a very fitting title for your book. as we're in the era of women's choice, something I don't think our families, communities, churches, and political leaders are paying a lot of attention to, or they're ignoring it. Can you talk about what the genesis of Choose Well was and why you felt the need to write this book?
Again, it just directly related to my own divorce and recognizing that, my mom, my grandmother, my mom's sisters, all of these women in my life who I believe gave pretty good advice. There were some deficiencies in there, and either me ignoring it, right, or not having everything I needed to make the best choice I could make in a mate. I decided to go on that journey. I decided to figure out, okay, what are the characteristics of a good husband, a good father, a good man? And throughout 25 years of doing research, figuring out what that looks like. Now, I had some really good examples, and I still do. I have some great friends who've been married 35, 40 years. They're in a happy marriage, and they're married to good men. So I did have some really, really good examples. And so I pulled from that, but I also went on this journey of just figuring out, okay, what makes a really good husband, a really good father, a really good man. My dad is a very masculine man, so he's always been a good masculine role model, although my dad has some deficiencies. He is not even close to being perfect. He has some deficiencies and things that, for a period of time, I thought were standard in every man. And then when I saw men that didn't have that, I was like, okay, so this is not standard in every man. There are men that don't do these behaviors. And that's when I figured out, okay, there are some really great men out here, and I have to learn how to choose them. I have to some extent, keep my ears closed and my eyes open and observe and let time do the vetting. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, I had to put down, the Disney programming. Every woman, definitely in my age range and maybe millennial, we've fallen prey to the Disney programming, someday my prince will come type of programming. And I had to put that down. The programming that says, marriage is going to be one long romantic date. I had to put that down and say, there are a lot of great men out here that don't, buy you 5 dozen roses for your birthday or, fly you out to Dubai, and that there's still great men. There's still great men to partner with. That every day is not going to be a romantic adventure. And there's still good men. So that was a part of it too, putting down that programming.
Okay. So the last time I was visiting him, I was reading your book, and my dad did see your book laying there, and I walked in the room, he picked it up, and he was like, because he's into relationship stuff, and he wanted to see what I was reading. I said, I'm interviewing the author of that book. But at an early age, at a very, very early age, my father did tell me, he said, son, you pick, but they choose.
Right.
Okay. So in other words, the women have the ultimate choice, which is
right.
Consistent with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Briefalt's law. But your book seems to outline a blueprint for women to find healthy and stable relationships. My question is thus, who chooses today? And at what point do women today start looking for healthy and stable relationships? Does that come from their family and their upbringing, or does it come with age? I know that's a mouthful, but who is choosing today?
I still say I agree with your dad. And if the woman is healthy, that is the formula. I agree with your father that men are going to pick, but the woman ultimately will choose. And if she's healthy, if the woman is unhealthy, it probably is the other way around. But I want to teach women to reject bad men. As soon as you see those characteristics, reject him. Do not tolerate him and do not accept him. And I see too many women either accepting a bad man or tolerating a bad man. And the truth is, she just needs to reject him. And that's regardless of how he makes her nether regions tingle, or how he makes her feel, or what he buys, or, he's not a good man long term. And you need to reject him. So that's one of the hardest sells to women today, because, they want what they want. And, some of them can see that the man is a bad man and they continue to tolerate him. But I want them to learn to reject men that don't mean them any good, that don't have their long-term best interest at heart.
Yeah. Well, in some instances, it raises their, I'm thinking about the T app, it raises their stock. If he's exudes those dark triad qualities, right, or if he exudes that danger and that swagger, and that increases his allure in some instances. Okay. So Anita, where do you stand on another flashpoint today? Is what a woman should use her 20s for? Is that used for exploration and experimentation, or should that be used to put down her roots and start a family?
So I give a woman until the age of 25. And if I'm being honest, it's really simply about her purpose, her meaning for her life, in the sense of, here's the truth of the matter. We're living in a day and age where it's probably unrealistic that a woman is going to go from her parents' home to her husband's home. That's probably not going to happen. And that makes me incredibly sad. I wish it was still that way, but that's probably not going to happen. We have parents now that are, trying to get their kids out of the house, and those children are ill prepared to do that. Yes, the economy does play a part. We can't deny that. And I do believe that a woman should, if she has a gift, if she has a talent, if she has a meaning or a purpose to her life, that she should explore that. And whether that's education, she is getting educated to do a job or a career, whether it's starting at the ground floor of a company and working her way up and learning, whatever that job is. But she is going to need time to do that, because it's unlikely that a woman's going to go from her parents' house to her husband's house. That's unlikely today. And so I give a woman 25 to do that. So whether it's getting the education you're going to need to enter into a field of study or career, or starting to work somewhere, working your way up, whatever that looks like, or exploring if you're more of a creative, you have until that time to do that and to gain those skills. But I think every woman at 25 should now start to ask herself some really hard questions about, coming together with a man, getting married, partnering up, having children. She needs to ask herself those really hard questions. And that needs to be her focus from 25 on. That if that's something I want to have in my life, that now needs to be my focus. So that becomes the priority. And that's not to say, if you need to work to pay your bills, we're not telling you to stop working, but get all of the education and training you're going to need so that at 25, you're in your field, you're working the career you're working, but now the priority shifts. The priority shifts to, if I want to get married, if I want to have a family, that now becomes my priority. And that's what I'm focused on. Now, some people tell me that age should be younger. They think that age should be 22 or 23. Okay. But definitely by 25. Now, here's the second thing I'm going to say. Women today are horrible gatekeepers. That's my other big problem with today's modern woman. She is a horrible gatekeeper. She is literally going against her God-designed nature by letting all these men in. That's not in our God-designed nature. And the reason why I can prove that is because the crime of rape is so heinous It is so incorrigible and heinous because it is not natural for a strange man to enter into a woman. But yet and still, today's woman has been brainwashed into allowing that to happen, to let all these strange men enter her body. And for what? And for what? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. I believe that a woman should be a good gatekeeper. So I'm not saying, mess around until you're 25, sleep around until you're 25, date a bunch of dudes. No. I'm telling you to get prepared as far as your career and your training and your vocation. So a lot of people, they get that confused. Okay, so you're telling them to go out and have fun until 25. No, I'm not. Please be a good gatekeeper. Please stop letting every key should not open your lock. Okay? Be incredibly selective. I don't even think people should date until they're 21.
Okay.
I don't think they have the prefrontal cortex. I don't think they have the emotional maturity and the capacity to handle what comes along with romantic relationships and sex. I don't even think people should date until they're 21.
Okay.
And I know that's controversial.
Now, Anita, early on, I mean, we are subject to the guidance we get from our parents and our elders. And I'll say that if I were based upon what I know now, if I were advising young men for balance, because I was encouraged after 27. Okay. And I know that in my era, it was, I went pretty far with my schooling. So it was, you want to get out and be able to date a little bit.
Yeah.
If I were advising a young man today, based upon what I know now, I would say, okay, well, you want to think about building, and you want to identify those choosers who genuinely have your best interest at heart. So if it comes a little early, you might be able to get out and have gobs and gobs of money to date with, but it won't necessarily get easier for you later on, and it might get more perilous out there.
Right.
As a single man into your 30s and into your 40s, even though you have a career and you have you become a high value man, so quote unquote.
Yeah. I think, and don't get me wrong, I think men and women waste their 20s. I see that across the board. I will never ever promote wasting 10 precious years. Just, like it's something to be wasted, right? And the few young people that I have mentored that bought a home in their 20s and, got into their career, started a business, right? They are setting themselves up for success. They are going to have a pretty amazing life in their 40s because of the decisions they made, good decisions in their 20s. But a lot of people promote that. Like the 20s is just, find yourself. You don't know yourself, and date all these people and sleep with all these people to figure out what you like and that is horrible advice. Horrible advice. The opposite will happen. You will hurt and break yourself in your 20s, and now you're starting off your 30s behind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On the male side, I will say certainly finances are a concern. So if you're in a doctoral program like I was, if you're in a medical program, you're not going to start making good money until later. But if you identify a chooser who has your best interest at heart, she's more likely to be able to work with you and be with you there through the process.
That's right. And that's what my marriage was. My marriage was a cornerstone marriage. And that is two people who really don't have much, but we come together and together we build what it is we're going to have. That's a cornerstone marriage. Once you're over the age of 35, you're then entering into a capstone marriage, which means that those two people have already acquired their education, or they've already acquired their career, or they've already bought homes and bought cars and, acquired what it is they're going to acquire. And the marriage is a capstone. It is like we're coming together and bringing whatever we've acquired together. So, but yes, my first marriage was what I call a cornerstone marriage. And so he was in medical school. I was a school teacher. Neither one of us had a lot of anything, but together it was our intention to co-create the life that we were going to have.
Anita, you might laugh at this, but this is my first time hearing these terms.
Okay.
So in yesteryear, you could argue that it was the responsibility of the families to teach this.
Yeah.
But where we are now, a lot of people have to figure this out.
They do.
Once they set out on their own, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because we didn't, in my family, not to my family watching, no shade, but we didn't talk about what a capstone marriage is and a cornerstone marriage. And, so, all right. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Keep them coming. So early on in the book, we're going into the second half now. Early on in the book, you introduce some very interesting vocabulary words from which come from the Urban Dictionary, situationships and the choose me phase.
Yeah.
There's another word that you mentioned that comes up quite a bit, and that's codependency. What is codependency, and why does it matter in the context of relationships?
So, as a former recovering codependent, it's been about 27 years now. Codependency is when either person, male or female, they put more effort into meeting everyone else's needs, right? They exist to serve others, and not in a healthy way. They exist to serve others and do for others, and they feel like they get a lot of worth and value in doing that. However, people who are codependent oftentimes get used. They oftentimes attract, bad people. They attract dark triad people and narcissistic people because of that empathic nature. It's what I call empathy without discernment. Okay, so these are the people that are going to say things like, I love hard and I'm just a giver. I just have a heart to give. And they don't realize that they have an unhealthy way of relating to people, right? They're overgiving and overdoing instead of allowing the relationship to be reciprocal and equitable. Okay, so I had to learn that the hard way. I had that not being chosen wound. That was my biggest wound, is just not being chosen. And so I believe that if I did all the right things and looked a certain way and showed up a certain way and gave and did, that I would be chosen. And I woke up and discovered the only person who had to choose me was me. And so that's what I did. I started to choose me. I started to just be my authentic self, and either, it jives or it doesn't, and to give reciprocally, right? That it's a dance that we're going to do together. But there's still a lot of people out there wounded by codependency, very wounded. And they believe that love is about performing. Right? That I've got to put on this grand performance and I've got to give and do, and that's what's going to get me love. And now I know that's not true. I can be loved just for who I am, right? For just being a really great person, for having a healthy dynamic and being reciprocal, right? So it's almost like people who give, that other person should give back, right? That should be a normal, natural thing is, oh my gosh, this person brought me this and now I feel like doing this for them. That should be a natural outpouring. But we still see that. We still see that codependency playing out. People who feel like they have to earn it and they have to overfunction and overgive. And again, I see it in men and women. And here's one of the phrases of the codependent. So if that person isn't okay, they can't be okay. So it's like, if you're not okay, I can't be okay.
Yeah.
They really struggle with that.
Yeah. The reason that stood out to me was that when I was in graduate school, my significant other at the time, she heard about that in her counseling, and then she came back and diagnosed me with being codependent. But hearing your explanation of it, I would say that was accurate
Yeah.
because I was taught to give, be
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
be supportive of her moods and be
Yeah.
empathic and try to be this great gentleman. But knowledge of self-love and boundaries came much
Right.
later. So
That's it.
that has to go with that. So
Yep.
discernment, as you described, those things came much
Yes.
later.
Yeah. And discernment will teach us. Okay, so we're seeing this in the political. I'm going to get political for a second. You ready? We see this in the political landscape, right? Where people who are left leaning, they don't know who the victim is. They have a form of toxic empathy where they are empathetic to all the wrong people. Okay, those people are not the victim. And if you just sat and had discernment, if you just sat and thought about it, you could come up with who is the victim. But a lot of them are giving all the wrong people the empathy and compassion. And so discernment is key. We have to know who is the true victim here. It's probably not who we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there is none. But toxic empathy says, oh, I should feel sorry for this person. I should do for this person and give to this person. We have to have discernment. We have to be able to know, is this person worthy of my empathy? Okay. Are they deserving of my compassion? Because some people are not. Some people are using you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll add this in that part of my personal messaging now is that, as you get older, you might have to find different teachers than your folks or
Definitely.
your aunts and your uncles because, that they might have taught you something out of their trauma, or they might have taught you something that they wish that they had. My dad's pretty big on the horoscope, so a lot of his advice was pretty big on the horoscopes. So you might, if you find what you were taught is not working, you have to have the wherewithal to stop and say, okay, this isn't working.
The critical thinking. Yes.
Where can I go to find the answers?
Yes. What else is out there? And that's me. That's always been me. I have researched every religion. I have researched about relationships, all kinds of things. Like, I appreciate what my parents gave me, but I know there's more. And I've always told them that, there is more than this. And I'm going to find it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's how I have created this rich, full worldview. It isn't just based on this or based on that. Now, I'm also a big believer in getting results. So I often tell people, when you talked about romanticizing the past, I say, hey, I wouldn't have a problem with the future if it was positive. That's my issue. A lot of this stuff we got now ain't working. So I'm not someone who romanticizes the past. I just want what works. And what we're doing now isn't working. That's my issue. Okay. If AI was getting people married, hey, I love AI, right? Or I don't know, any of this newfangled stuff, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No. Yikes.
Yeah. So early on in your book, Anita, you talk about some very honest and sobering experiences about your marriage. It sounds like you were ready to get married at that particular time, and you weren't necessarily looking for the perfect man, just an adequate man. And you used, I think you described it as a Valentine's Day competition.
Yes.
Is that correct? And also, and you see that, you see, as a man, I've experienced ladies, they want to see who's going to compete the most at that particular time. And that's the guy who does is the guy that wins.
Yep.
But okay, so that's correct. And this is a recurring theme I keep coming back to. Did your family prepare you for marriage and what to expect? And is that the family's responsibility?
They prepared me to be a good wife.
Okay.
Right? The women in my family definitely prepared me to be a good wife. And my dad, the men in my family attempted to teach me the difference between a good man and a bad man. right? So the men taught me about the men, but the women taught me about how to be a good wife. And they did a great job. So I have no problems there. They did a really great job in teaching me how to be a good wife and mother. Some of the men in my family, like I said, they would pick and choose. My dad, would pick and choose. And I think he did his best. I think he did his best with what he had. But there might have been some things that they left out or did not include, or even they didn't think maybe were important. And I wish that I had known about that. But now I know better, like taking my time, that's a big one that I teach people, is just to take your time. I met my then husband in late January. We were engaged by June. And now I have a rule that says you don't know a person until 12 months. So I should have never accepted his ring. I should have let those 12 months, go by and observed him, because things would have come out that probably would have been a deal breaker. But, in my readiness to get married, I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to get married. I think I'll make a great wife, and I put a lot of that on me of, okay, if I show up and I'm a really great wife, we should be fine. And I discounted the man's contribution to that. I really did. I discounted that because, and from the men in my family, okay, he's not beating on you. He's not doing anything crazy. He's a provider man. He's willing to protect, kind of those baseline things. But as time went on, other things came to light. And had I just waited, I probably would have saw those things.
Okay. I want to acknowledge my brother, Amal Dunbar, who showed up in the chat. Everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're new to either platform, please consider subscribing, and the super chat is live, and feel free to donate on either side. Let's see. Okay. So personal growth, your book, it challenges the reader, the audience is women here for personal growth in a general sense. So you talk about women seeking personal growth and being willing to continue to grow. I have a personal story here. I was told years ago by a clergyman that once we get to our early 30s, we're pretty much who we're going to be. And there's some things that we can't change. And I've experienced individuals falling back on, well, this is where I come from. This is my background. Right. This is where I come from. This is my background. I come from a line of strong, independent women in this particular instance. From your experience, even in our 30s and beyond, can men and women continue to grow and evolve?
They can, and they should. And they have to have that growth mindset. They have to want it. A lot of people don't, but yes, they can and they should. And they have to want it. They have to want to learn from the many experiences that they are going to have throughout the entirety of their life. They have to want it, but a lot of people don't. And think about it. It takes a lot of energy. I always say this. We talk about time a lot. We don't talk enough about energy. And people are lazy. People are lazy. People are going to seek the path well traveled. They're lazy. They're not going to set out on a path that is not beaten, right? Because they're naturally lazy. They're going to take the path of least resistance. And it's easy to not read, to not sit on anybody's couch, to not open yourself up to new opinions and new thoughts it's easy. And that's why most people do it. That's why most people stay at a dead-end job. They don't learn new skills and new things. I often joke with people about how I had to learn how to edit. I had to learn how to edit video at 52 years old. And now, as I talked to Dr. Anwar before this, I have to learn how to do StreamYard. This is going to go on for the rest of my life. right? So now I told him, yeah, I got 5 days to learn how to do this StreamYard thing because I have to go live on Friday and I don't have a clue. But I am going to sit down and I'm going to learn about StreamYard, and I'm going to call people and, people who've also used it. But you have to be willing to do that. That's why a growth mindset is the number one thing I look for in a significant other. I do not want someone to tell me this is just how I am. I can't change. This is it. This is what you get. I'm not interested. I'm interested in someone that's like, wow, I've never heard this phrase before. I've never heard this before. Wow, you're teaching me something new. Like those are my people. Those are my people. Please be open and be curious and be willing to learn and grow. So yes, I wouldn't be a therapist if I didn't think that.
Okay. Because the other thing you run into as a person who's willing to work on things is, well, why can't you just accept me for how I am? Why can't you just accept that this is who I am and what I do? So I'm sure as a therapist, I'm sure you've seen that you run into this boom where you can't, at that point, you can't get anything done at that point. Go ahead.
And so here's what I tell people when they say that in session. So let's say the couple comes in and the husband or wife, well, you're just trying to change me and you just need to accept me as I am. Yeah. And so this is what I say though, and this is a harsh truth. I say to the other person, okay, tell me what this behavior is doing to your connection. Do you feel closer to them or further away? And if they say, yeah, this behavior, it doesn't feel good. I feel disconnected. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel understood. And I do feel further away. So now I say to the person who said it, okay, so do you understand that this way you have or behavior you have, it could cost you your relationship? You understand? Like your person is sitting here telling you that this way that you have is making them feel disconnected. They're not feeling good in this connection. And okay, either we're going to be, and think about it. Every person who enters a new relationship will change. That's why I think it's silly when people say that. You will change. Your brain will change being in a new relationship with a new person. And those changes may be subtle, but that is the nature of being in relationship. When we meet a new friend, we change. Okay, but all I'm doing is saying, hey, there are some behaviors here that disconnect me from you. They make me feel like disconnected from you and they don't feel good. Is there anything we could do about that? I think at the core of who you are, I love and enjoy and I'm interested in, but there's some behaviors here that don't feel good, right? So here's a perfect example for me. If I met a man tomorrow and I thought he was the bee's knees and he had a filthy mouth, I would say, yeah, I can't do it. And he would say, what's the big deal? This is how I've talked for 58 years. What's the problem? They're just words. I would say, but they don't make me feel safe. They don't, they grate, they grate on my intellect. It's hard to feel close and connected when you're speaking to me with those words. And again, it could be a deal breaker. We may not be able to have a relationship because I'm going to be honest, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone that every other word out of their mouth is a profanity. So it could be a deal breaker of us having a relationship. And, I'd be okay with that. But That man would probably go off and say, yeah, Anita won't date me because I use profanity. So yeah, that's a behavior that you have that feels disconnecting and feels okay. So to some degree, we should all be open and be willing to say, okay, I know this is something I've done a long time, or it's a bad habit that I have. It's an annoying habit that I have. Am I willing to work on this for the sake of this relationship? Right? To feel close and connected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because there's almost nothing you could say when someone just puts up a roadblock and says, well, this is how I am. This is where I come from. You keep disregarding where I come from, and I'm not going to evolve into anything else. I think the thing I realized is that a person, you can't force somebody to change. They have to want to do it themselves.
Yeah. And the relationship might end. So they'd have to accept that the relationship might end. And that's what I tell people. Like, I'm not a believer of pushing square pegs into round holes. I'm not. Life is too hard for that.
Yeah. I think this comment from your group here, I think this is a nice segue into the next question. Jane Spitfire 9884 says, I met a man 55 years old who works hard, but he's so nervous and never done nothing in life. Only works. He's boring to me and not educated, not traveled, smokes pot and drinks. Not my type. Okay.
There you go.
This guy doesn't have a prayer.
And what's wrong with that? Like, let's be honest. We must be aligned. All she said was, this man and I are not aligned. Why is that a horrible thing? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I can feel in my spirit if I'm aligned with a man or not. And so again, I don't believe in pushing square pegs into round holes. Now that man is going to say, hey, I'm a good man. Okay, but we are not aligned. We are not a good fit for one another. Every good man is not aligned with me. We're not a good fit for one another. So yes, reject him. Now here's what I see happening. I see women tolerating him. And I'm not going to do that. That man will get rejected. Okay? And maybe someone else will accept him. But I'm a big believer in rejecting. I'm not going to tolerate misalignment. And I don't encourage anybody to do that, men or women.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was a good segue into this next question. We're coming down the home stretch here.
Okay.
Starting in chapter 6, you teach women about the 3 lists: I want, I don't want, and I need.
Yes.
So
very basic, very basic. Let's boil it down to the basics. What do you want? What don't you want? What do you need?
Okay. So this is a concept to me, again, that didn't come until later. And shout out to Dr. Tia Johnson. Most men come to the table with no list at all.
Yeah. No. Yep.
Is it a problem?
It's my biggest complaint about men.
Well, I mean, we're not socialized.
Right.
We haven't been socialized to come with lists.
Yep.
Do you teach women that's a problem if a man doesn't have one? And
he should have those 3 lists
of their own.
Yep.
Okay.
He should have those 3 lists. And if not, it is a problem. It is a problem. A man, I give that same assignment to a man. What do you want? What don't you want? And what do you need? And really search your soul. Get clear about what is truly like not going to work for you, right? What you want is like a preference. What you need is more of a requirement. Okay, so there's things on my want list that I may not get, and I'm still going to be okay. But I focus more on the need list, which is like the deal breaker or the requirement. And then I definitely focus on the don't wants. So I have to be clear on what is not going to work for me. That way I can avoid it. Okay, so smoking, excessive drinking, using of illicit substances, that's easy. Soon as I find that out, I'm like, oh, we're not a good fit for one another. and I reject him. So men need to do the same. If there are things that they absolutely cannot tolerate, please put it on the don't want list.
Okay.
But you are right. Men are not socialized this way at all. They're just happy to get anything. So it's a woman.
I think many of us show up hoping things will go smoothly, and then you end up in these many of us show up just hoping things will go smoothly. That's all I'll say.
And end up in a mess. And then they come into my office and they're like, how did this happen? I said, well, what's on the don't want list? What's on the want list? What's on the need list? And they're like, I don't know. See, when you don't have standards and requirements, you'll get into anything. And then it's only after you're in it that you're like, no, not this. Okay, so next time I want you to be more prepared. And then here's the other thing I say. Men are not socialized to reject women.
No.
That's not. And y'all, that's why 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Because men are not socialized to leave bad situations. And I personally have some men that are in some hellish marriages. And every other week, I'm like, what are we doing? I'm hoping it's going to turn around. It hasn't in years. What's happening? What are you going to do? And they just, it's not even a thought in their head that they should leave this horrible marriage. It's quite sad. It is quite sad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. See, everything you say, I'm tempted to add something like for example, the part of the programming might be, or the socialization might be, we need to stay and work it out. We need to work it out.
Yeah, it is.
Let's work it out. That let's work it out thing can keep you there.
Woo. Through some horrible situations. I mean, these situations are horrible.
Yeah.
And I keep telling them, it ain't gonna work out.
Well, I think this is a good segue into the next question, which is you in chapter 11, you talk about the 10 most underrated qualities in a man. One of them I recall off the top of my head was agreeableness, but yes. I think we just got to this. There needs to be a certain amount of self-love there and a certain amount of boundaries there, or a certain amount of because otherwise, if he's too agreeable, then you'll just lay flat and let her run. Right.
So not a nice guy. Yeah, we're not looking for a nice guy, but we are looking for a man that wants to, just like I think a man should look for a woman that's collaborative and cooperative, right? And he wants to. So here's what I mean by agreeable. He should take influence from his woman. That has been clinically proven by the Gottmans, that a man who receives influence, healthy influence from his wife, is a very successful man. He tends to have a happy marriage. He tends to be married longer. So, and by that, they mean someone who's not like a dictator in the marriage. So it's my way or the highway, and whatever you have to add doesn't mean anything. Not that guy. A guy who leads and says, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, or I'm considering that. Let me run it by you. What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? That's a healthy leader. Someone who is leading and taking initiative, but he's also considering the people that he's leading. So that's what I mean by that. Not a pushover, not a Mr. Nice Guy, but someone who respects and appreciates his woman's, whatever her gift or talent is. That's what I mean by agreeableness, but definitely not the nice guy. No.
Okay. Thank you to Just Jules for the $9.99 super chat. He says, behind in the conversation about an hour. Okay. Enjoying this thus far. Thank you, Jules.
Thank you.
If you were to, authors often update their work and make multiple editions. If you were to update that chapter, but the book in general, Anita, would you add the caveat about the current environment and men adapting to this new egalitarian
Yeah.
environment we're in. Salute the passport OG. He clipped that and he showed it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a missing piece here, is that we become more egalitarian, and there are
Yeah.
trade-offs. Would you add that?
There's so many things to add. And if I'm being honest, so last year I had intents on updating this book. And I let it go. I said, let it die, let it go. Either write something new, and I did write something new unrelated to this. And I may write something totally new, name something different. But there's so much to add. So much has changed. So much has changed in this short amount of time. And that's what's so scary to me about this time that we find ourselves in. Things are changing so quickly. Just in the last 6 years, I tell people all the time, I feel like I'm in some sort of weird time warp where just in the last 6 years, people are growing further and further apart. And it's like, it's so weird to me. Men don't know what men should do, and women don't know what women should do. And it's just so weird how we got here. So there's lots to add, but we are not interchangeable. And I believe that if we follow God's original design for the man and for the woman, we will be happier. We will feel fulfilled. I mean, there are things that women can do that men just can't do. There are things that men can do that women just can't do. And it's like we lack humility, right? I know that about men. I don't need to prove anything to a man. There are plenty of things that men can do that I can't do. I have the humility to recognize that. And I think a man should have the humility to say, yeah, Anita can do something that I just can't do. That does not make you less than. It's a mutual respect for one another, but we've lost that. Because women think men are only good for this, their money, and women think men are only good for this. You know, I'm like, this is where we've landed? That's odd to me. That's really weird. But yeah, there's lots that I could update to that. But I've decided to lay that idea down because I was talking about that for a while. I need to update this book. I need to revise it. But I was like, I'm just going to write something else.
Well, just since you commented on that in cyberspace, as an author myself, I know how much work it is to update something. You've toiled on it just to get the first version out. Now, the next question, Anita, you've touched on something in one of the later chapters. I think it's chapter did I capture it? I didn't write this chapter down. Something near and dear to all of our hearts, but I think that's at the heart of a lot of this dysfunction, the concept of settling. So thank you for writing this. You interestingly state that we all settle.
That's it.
And can you talk about this controversial principle and why it has such a negative connotation?
So, in brief, settling is basically trade-offs. Life is about trade-offs. When you choose one thing, you by definition are not choosing lots of other things. This is a very difficult concept for modern day adult people to understand. And I don't know why, but I continue to beat this drum, right? So it's like a coin. I don't have a coin on my desk. It's like a coin. There's two sides to that coin. And I tell women, I want a man to pay all the bills. Great. That's on one side of the coin. But I want you to flip that coin over, and I want you to see that there ain't a lot of time. There ain't a lot of time for you on the other side of that coin. If a man is going to go out into the world and be ambitious and driven and be the sole provider, that's what's on one side. But flip that coin over. And on the other side is, I'm at work. I'm at the business. I'm doing things to generate income. I'm not sitting cuddling on the couch. I'm not cooking meals. I'm not taking care of little kids. I'm not changing diapers. I'm providing. But for some reason, they want an 100% provider, and they want all this time. They want him to come home and cook and clean and spend all this time with the children. That's not how that works. So I chose a man to be the sole provider of our household. He also worked 70, 80 hours a week. So everything related to the home was on me. And that was the deal that I struck. And everyone has to do that. If you want a man who is wildly attractive on one side of the coin, on the other side of the coin is everybody else thinks that too. So, okay. I don't know why we struggle with that. It's just trade-offs. Life is about trade-offs.
Yeah, from the male side, there's a gentleman named Leon in these YouTube streets, and he said something interesting, which is that men, if you're concerned about the education of your children, you have to pick a woman who specializes in that. And if you're picking for that, you might not get some of the other bells and whistles. But
there you go.
It's trade-offs, like you said.
That's it. My ex-husband chose a teacher, right? I taught my children to read when they were 3 years old. I taught them to write when they were 3 years old.
Yeah.
I jump-started their education by staying at home with them, right? And that's what he wanted. And never once did I hear, you didn't pay the mortgage this month. Like, you didn't pay the phone bill. You didn't pay. I never once heard that. Because he was like, I don't want that. Okay. I want these kids to be ahead of the game. I want a clean home. I want my clothes to smell like Downy. I want a crisp shirt. I want a hot meal. I want some homemade cornbread and biscuits in the morning. I want to get them breakfast sandwiches on my way out the door. See? So in that regard, we were a great fit. We were both very pragmatic people. He said, what do you want? I told him what I wanted. He said, this is what I want. I said, yep, I can do that. We need more of that in this world. Okay. And he wasn't 6'4". He didn't play basketball, or, he wasn't like, oh my God, every woman on the planet wanted him. But, the things that he wanted to give me is what I wanted. And the things that I wanted to give him is what he wanted. See? And why can't we strike those deals anymore? I don't understand that. We cannot seem to do that anymore. That's so, like I said, I don't get it. Because I come to a man, I say, hey, this is what you're going to get. Tell me what you think. And they go, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, what do you want? And then I tell them what I want. And then, we strike a deal. See? So that's what I want people to do. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think it's emotional immaturity. That's what I think is at the crux of it. People are not emotionally mature.
Well, going back to the balloon pop show, and I don't know if that's fictitious or if it's if there's some truth in there, but when you see how frivolously some of those ladies are picking, they might get the guy whose pants fit just right and whose hair is fixed up just right, but there are other things that they may not.
They won't get. There you go.
Right. So
perfect.
I refuse to settle. I will not settle. That's a big thing today.
Yep.
Okay. And parents say that don't settle. You shouldn't settle.
But here's what I tell my girls and my son. I want you to be aligned. Choose someone whose values and morals and standards align. I never talk about settling. I talk about being aligned. And I let them know life is about trade-offs, but choose someone who is aligned with you. That's what I say to my kids. Okay. And I mean that. I mean that to every person who's watching this. Please be aligned, right? So I have a growth mindset on steroids, and I probably am best suited to someone who also has that. My faith is the lighthouse in my world. It's the beacon, my faith. So I'm best aligned with someone similar. So I often tell people, I don't cheat, I don't lie, I don't do a lot of things that worldly people do. And it's not even about the man I'm with, it's about my God. And I tell men, like, you're getting a great woman because of my relationship with God. I can't let him down. And my husband is just, he's getting the runoff from that. He's like, yeah, and you're like, but that's what I tell people. And I want the same. I want a man who's like, yeah, I can't be out here in these streets. I can't be tricking like this. I can't let God see me tricking. And I'm going to get the runoff from that. See?
Okay. I think in that same chapter, Anita, you hit on something very, very important, which is that our relationships won't be perfect all the time. And so that reminded me of two things. One is the concept of happiness. That's a big thing. Be happy. I want to be happy. I'm not happy. Which is something that seems to come and go. It seems to be like the sun coming up and the sun coming down. So happiness is one thing, but also in my discussions with my mother and others, the concept of a relationships being work. There is work involved, but then the question is how much work. And then another person might say, well, they shouldn't have to be work. But I thought it was important that you noted that these things are not going to be a bed of roses all of the time. Do you want to say a few words about that?
So I don't call it work because I don't like that word either, especially when it comes to my intimate relationship. I call it time, energy, and effort. T. It will take time, it will take energy, and it will take effort. That's what I say. That aligns with me. It's so natural because everything in my life takes time, energy, and effort. So why not my relationships with other people? Why not my work? Why not my channel? Why not, my look, my fitness, my health? Like everything takes time, energy, and effort. So that aligns with me. And that's what I tell people about their romantic relationships. It will take time, energy, and effort. And so be prepared. Be prepared to provide those three things. It is a co-creative process. And that's the other thing that I think is odd today is that people go into relationships and it's all about what they can get and not what they can give. And again, it's co-creative. It shouldn't be all about you giving either. It should be a co-creative effort. I'm going to give, I'm going to get, like we're in this symbiotic relationship. And it's fair, it's equitable, right? It will never be equal because men and women will never be equal other than in their inherent value. We are very different by nature. So I will never pick up, a 100-pound thing, that's for my husband to do, but I will be able to push an 8-pound baby out of my body. That's for me to do. So, I have to remind people romantic relationships are about equity. We will both do hard things, but those things will be different.
Okay. You that answers a question I was going to ask, but here I'll say that that happiness thing, that's difficult because when you feel like you're doing the best you can for someone, and you keep getting met with this, I'm not happy. That's a difficult pill to swallow. It's a difficult circumstance when someone comes back with that over and over and over again.
It's an inside job. It's an inside job. And that's one of the characteristics that I do think people, men and women, should look for is someone who's genuinely happy, someone who's already loving a life that they've created. I told a girlfriend of mine that the other day, because I have a reel going viral where I said, gentlemen, this is called You Can't Make Her Happy. A lot of men are co-signing that. Like, you can't make her happy. There's nothing you can do to make her happy. And I tell them, don't try. Don't try to make her happy. You can contribute to whatever happiness she's bringing, but for her to rely on you to make her happy, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's an inside job, right? She should have found things in her life that bring her joy all on her own. That has nothing to do with a man. A man can contribute to my happiness, but he does not make me happy. So, yeah. And then life is about seasons, right? We're going to have seasons where it's a hard season. I had plenty of clients come out of a hard season. And I was like, yeah, this sucks. This is a hard season. But your smile will return. Your joy will come back in the morning, all the things. And again, I keep going back to emotional maturity. People who are emotionally mature understand this. They understand. I had a client just the other day talk about depression and anxiety like he shouldn't ever feel that. It was like, where did you get this from? That's called you're alive. You're alive. You will have moments of feeling anxious. You will have moments of feeling depressed. Like, we have sold people this lie that, all of these things are to be pathologized. And I don't believe that. I believe if someone dies, you're going to feel bad. And for a while, like, what? Oh, but now I need medication and now I need to do this. And now, no, there are things that happen in our life that make us feel bad, that make us feel sad. There's things that happen in our life that make us feel anxious. It's called being alive. And you learn to ride those waves of life. And again, maybe it's my generation. I'm a Gen Xer. I am built for this. I am built for tough. Like, none of this stuff means nothing to me. It is a part of this ride that I'm on, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And if I can keep doing this for 30 more years, I love it. But this whole idea of if I don't feel good every second of every day, like, I can assure you that's not going to happen. So, I just keep it real with folks, even in therapy. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, you feel sad. You went to a funeral today. That makes sense. Like, that makes sense to me. And so feel those feelings and don't get stuck in those feelings. Like, move through those feelings and you will smile again. You will laugh again. You will have a season of great joy and all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other word that goes hand in hand with the I'm not happy is I'm bored. I'm bored.
Oh,
I'm not. That's another one. But they go together in my mind. Okay.
That is an opportunity for you. I see boredom as an opportunity. See? Okay. Isn't that interesting? I don't see it as a bad thing or not. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be creative. It's an opportunity to develop something. Right? And it's just, that's so weird to me that this is where we have landed, that we see these things as things that don't need to happen. Like, why is this happening? No, it's an opportunity to create and to make something out of nothing. But again, that's the generation that I come from, right? All of the greatest movies of our time came from our generation. That's why people keep remaking them.
Yeah.
Because they can't have an original thought, right?
They try.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see, I think you asked a question. Someone asked a question, and they were over on from your side. If you have we have so many comments. You have a question. If you super chat it, you're likely to get it read. Otherwise, I'm trying to coordinate this conversation and read your comments.
Yeah, because there's a lot of chats going on.
A lot of chats. Okay.
Yeah, I can't keep up with them.
We can't keep her all night. All right. So I think you already answered this. men and women have unique needs. This goes back to we're different, and there are gender roles, and well, there were gender roles, but by nature we are different, and we have unique needs. So I won't believe that.
Yep, and we need to accept it. We keep trying to fight Mother Nature. She is undefeated. She is undefeated. Women need to be in women-only spaces. Women need to talk ad nauseum. Women need to feel and emote, and yet they're demonizing men for not being women. I never thought I'd see this day. Never. I just can't believe it. I love the fact that men are strong and stoic. They are simple creatures. They like what they like, I just never thought I'd see this day where this feminization of the culture, and it's the worst kind of evil. It is the worst kind of evil to demonize men and everything that they've contributed. I feel a way about that we are demonizing the very men that got us here. Now we have a problem. That's not okay.
Yeah. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, not just because I'm a man, but if you think about this logically, how does our species and our civilization go forward if one side is demonized and ostracized at the personal level, but also going up to the political level? And I think we've seen that play out in certain ways up at the political level. Anita, you're open about your faith and spirituality. The Black church is getting a lot of attention right now for various reasons.
Yes.
Is the church a good place to meet a mate today?
I don't know. Because the church, let me just say this. So just like 6-7 years ago when the women were letting me down, and the women, I was like, what's happening with the women? I'm feeling that way about the church.
Now, are you talking about Jamal? Or are you talking about?
I can't make referrals to Christianity like I used to. Like I can't make good referrals because I don't know what these people in some of these organizations. Where do I begin? I will always refer people to Christ because that is the way, the truth, and the light. I'll always refer people to God. My problem is man. My problem is the building. My problem is the organization. They are doing a horrible job at representing my God. That's my problem. I will always tell people to seek God's face, pray to him, let him show you who you are, what your worth and value is. My worth and value comes from God, not man. But what I'm seeing today, like, I can't make a good referral to a church no more because I don't know what the people are going to find when they get there. And that is going to turn them away from God. That's the problem. So now I'm like, okay, well, let me get you a good American English Bible. let me, I don't know. Let's see. Let me show you about prayer. Right? It's like, I just don't feel good anymore referring people to church because their representation is so bad and it's not biblical. Half of the stuff that is happening is not biblical, but even the Bible tells us that there will be false prophets. There will be wolves in sheep's clothing, that we will be deceived by people saying they're godly. So it's like, okay, let me just give you this Bible. Okay, I'm gonna give you this Bible dictionary and this Bible concordance so that you can, learn what these words mean and what this mean. But it's like I can't give referrals to church no more because it's just so twisted and not biblical. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go there with my platform because people are like, oh, are you gonna start making this, this type of content? But it's getting bad.
Well, the latest headline, he keeps putting himself back in the news as Jamal, and the dress that he bought for his wife. He admitted he bought it for her, but that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Non-modest, an unmodest way for women to show their bodies, and Black women in particular have very nice natural shapes. So then you're asking men to kind of go like this, and then I think for as long as I've been alive, I remember my former stepfather said that the church has become much harder on men in general. So and then you have other ideologies coming in, like the rainbow stuff, the progressive stuff. So it begs the question of if that's a good place to partner up anymore.
I would have said it 5 years ago, but like I said, it's just 5 years ago I would have said that.
Yeah.
But now it's completely turned men off.
Yeah.
Like men are completely turned off. Yeah.
I will say this, perhaps getting myself in trouble. I did notice that in the place where I regularly worship, I did look around at one point after hearing some of these things, and I did notice there are a lot of single, a lot of single ladies there, which you would think is a good thing, but you then you wonder, okay, why aren't all these people partnered?
Right.
And then is this church is filled the way it is because this pastor is telling them he's greenlighting things that have made them single.
Yeah.
We're in this nobody can judge me place. So I just wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
One of the things you hear is, well, you need to just go to church and go to the singles ministry, or find somebody there, and honestly, you don't know who you're going to meet there these days.
You don't. And the church is not full of men, masculine men, because it has completely turned men off. It has completely turned good masculine men off. So yeah, the church is full of a bunch of women. It's full of a bunch of much older men, but strong masculine, no, it's completely turned them off. And it's sad because it was never meant to be that way. It was never meant to be that way. But yeah, there's a whole lot of mess. Drewski's whole mess. But again, like, what are you upset about? This is the stuff that y'all are doing. Locking the doors, making people, tithe, and they can't leave. And what? What kind of craziness is this? And it's a production. It's a production. And it's nothing but idolatry. It is the idolatry of the pastor. And it's not about saving souls. It's not about God. It's not about God. So I'm not going to lie, it's turned me completely like...
Yeah, it's a mixture of idolatry, but also activism.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the type of activism. It's a certain kind of activism.
Right.
I'll just say that. I'll just say that.
But it's not good. I attended church here. And I have had, I've had some questions about things. And those questions, have been addressed. And overall, I believe that the ministry that I'm attending is, biblical and godly. But there have been some questions, that I had that, were addressed. And I was like, okay, like, I don't come here for the political agenda. I don't come here for the rainbow agenda. I don't want any of that. Like, I don't come here to be milked out of all the money I got. Okay. I come here to be taught the word, to fellowship with other people that are in alignment with the word, right? And to be a light out here in a dark place. But yeah, I've made that very clear. Like, there are just certain things that are, they're going to turn me off. I left a church that I was at for 17 years because the pastor kept telling me who to vote for. Stop. Like, stop that. I don't come here for that. And I had to say that very directly. Very directly. Don't do that. And he was like, what? Well, we need it. No. Don't do that. Okay. I told him, because he was like, yeah, I noticed you haven't been in a year. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. So like I always tell people know this about me. If I don't fool with you no more, you're not sitting somewhere wondering why I don't. You know why I don't. Okay. Most people will say, yeah, I know why I need to don't fool with me no more. Because I'm going to tell you. But yeah, I don't come for that. I don't. And thankfully, the ministry I'm in now, they don't run any of those agendas, and they'll say, hey, doesn't matter what's going on out in the political landscape. It's all about God's kingdom. And, and luckily we haven't had any of the theatrics, mm-hmm. We don't have that at the ministry. So I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anita, I have two more, and I'll let you go. Yeah. I want to respect your time. So in chapter 11, you hit on something very, very big. Ray Alexander, if you're still out there, this one is going to fall in your wheelhouse. Anita, you point out that there are only so many six-figure high earning men out there. Yep. Okay, so there's a finite number of those men. So that's a big thing in terms of partnering now. And I'm thinking about a cousin just before the holiday. We had dinner, and she kept mm-hmm. asking me, well, how do you feel? How do you feel if she makes more? How do you feel if she makes more? How do you feel if she makes more? So mm-hmm. that's a big thing these days. There are only so many six-figure men to go around.
Right.
And then as a man, the way how much money you make, what you have, how much you travel, all that is under a microscope. All that's under a magnifying glass when certain ladies look at you. So what do you advise ladies about men and money? Because budgeting your money, budgeting is a bad ward, number one.
Yeah.
But
within your means, within your means.
Hyper-consumerism is being encouraged, and if you want it, just get it. Be happy. This will make you happy.
No.
If a person's not traveling, then they're lame. They're not keeping up. What would you say about that?
I think everyone should live within their means. It's more important to me how a man manages his money than how much money he makes. Again, I'm going to use the word alignment and financial compatibility. So I would say I feel blessed. I feel blessed in that I've never kept up with the Joneses. That's just not me. I'm the type of person that if people are going this way, I'm actually going the other way. So I'm not interested in keeping up with the Joneses. I'm also a person that gets a lot of enjoyment and happiness from simple things. And so I would hope to partner with someone similar, that we don't need a trip to Dubai. I joked on a video recently where I talked about, I hate Valentine's Day. I absolutely hate Valentine's Day. And it confuses men who've gone out with me because they think I'm saying it, I don't know, to be funny or flippant. And so Valentine's Day comes around and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do here. Maybe this is some sort of weird test. And I assure them, I do not want anything and I do not want to do anything. Like, don't buy me anything. And then, it comes and they're like, okay, I don't know if this is some sort of weird test, I don't know. But then it passes and they're like, okay, I think she's actually fine. I think she meant it. And then as the years go by, they're like, no, Anita actually doesn't like Valentine's Day. So they kind of figure that out. And then I also joked and said, I don't even need to do anything on my anniversary, if I'm being honest. Like if we just have a great marriage on any given day, I'm straight. Like I don't need an anniversary trip. I don't need a anniversary gift. I'm in the marriage. Like, I'm in the marriage and the marriage is good and I'm good. And so a lot of men were like, well, dang, I mean, what can we do? I was like, my birthday is a national holiday. So you can definitely make a big deal for my birthday. But overall, I think alignment is key. And if I'm being honest, and I'm going to be really honest, I think a lot of women are obsessed with travel because they hate their life. I think they don't like the life they have. I think they're running away from their life. So that's the first part. The second part is I think women have a hive mind. And so they see other women doing it. And so they want to do it.
Okay.
So I don't think the travel is sincere as they make it out to be. I think one, they hate their life, and going to another country or going to another state or going to another city allows them to leave the life they hate. And then right behind that is just the hive mindset. That's what women want to do. And so they're like, yeah, that's what I should be doing. But they don't really have a genuine desire. No.
Because you've mentioned that in your content. And number one, that's a disqualifier for men. If you don't have the passport, if you don't have stamps in it, they're going to,
that's crazy.
You can get disqualified right away.
That's crazy.
And that's become more important than family formation.
Yeah,
it's partnering.
It's crazy.
Now, Anita, your professional opinion is that from having discussions, we'll keep it, we'll be discreet here, but have you heard that this unhappiness with one's life as
oh yeah, most women are unhappy with their life. Most women's life lacks meaning. It lacks purpose. They don't know what their gifts or talents are. They have no real relationship with God, right? Like I said, the most envious thing about me is the fact that I'm happy. The fact that I genuinely love the life that I've created. That's what women can't figure out. And the women who hate me, they're like, okay, she doesn't drive a Range Rover. She doesn't live in $1 million house. She doesn't even buy designer. And yet, how dare she be happy? That is what women truly envy about me, that I actually love my life. I actually love my life. I love the people in it. I love men. I have a great relationship with my God. Like, that's what just tears them up inside. Like, how dare I not, be on antidepressants and be anxious and, be in therapy for 10 years. How dare I? I think it's hilarious because any woman can have it. And like I said, I got a new book out that's actually going to teach you how to do that. But you have to be open to that process. And it's easier than you think. It's easier than you think to create a life that you love. And when you love the life that you've created, guess what? You attract men into your life that are like, wow, Anita seems really happy over there. What's going on over there? Like, what's happening with that? It's easy to attract good men when you have a good life. See? Okay. So it's not about stuff. It's not about going places and just, I don't understand that. I like to travel too, but it's not, I want to run away from my life. It's to explore, and to have fun with my friends. We have a girls trip every year. So I love, traveling and going on the girls trip. However, if I have a tight year or if I can't go, it's like, okay, I love the life I have. I'm not running away from anything.
So it sounds like it's not a flex for you.
No, not at all.
Something to lord over everybody and flaunt over everybody.
Okay. But that's what they're using it, just like their education, just like their careers, just like their titles, just like all these letters behind their name, right? And that's why I tell women, like, really think about that. Really think about that, because they have been sold this lie that if I get these degrees and if I get these certifications, or if I have this type of job or type of car, type of house or whatever, and they get all of that and they're still unhappy. So you just got to think about that. Yeah, because I know plenty of women that have all the things, and they have the hair and the nails and the makeup and the shoes and the designer crap, and they are miserable. They are miserable. And I can't relate because I don't need any of that. Like, I actually enjoy the life that I've created.
Yeah, yeah. The Jersey Lioness has snuck in here. Trust. She says most material pursuits are an effort to fill a void.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's not about getting all the six figure men. Okay.
No, and like you just stated, there's only so many to go around. So here is the option, ladies, and this is the truth that a lot of women don't want to hear. You're either going to partner with a man, an average man. You're going to come together with him and partner with him, and please make him a good man, or you are going to live out the rest of your life on your own. And I'm not saying that's the end of the world. I'm not saying that you can't have a fulfilling life, never being married or having children. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. That was a big part of my life being fulfilling, is experiencing marriage and raising children. That was a big part of my life. However, you're going to have to find out what else. What else is there? Not material things, not travel. For me, I would say it's giving back. It's being an integral part of people's lives and adding value to people's lives. I think a woman could get a lot of fulfillment from that. But it can't just be about me. Life is all about me and it's all about doing what I want to do. I don't believe in that. I don't think that leads to a fulfilling life. When you are selfish and self-centered, I think you're empty. I think that life is meant to be shared and to be lived with people, and we're put on this planet to give back and do for people in the way that we can. And we're also put on this earth to feel good. So I often tell people, find things that make you feel good, right? That genuinely make you feel good, feel alive. And it can be little things. It can be little tiny things. Every time I have a cup of tea in the morning, that makes me feel good. I pet my cat, it makes me feel good. I go for a walk in nature, it makes me feel good. We've got to start promoting the simple things that have the ability to make us feel good. So that's what I want to teach women. And it's inside of them. That feminine nature is there. And it's so simple. It's so simple and sweet. And I want women to explore that more. Just explore that.
I want to thank you for that, Anita. You dropped so many gems tonight. Minister Misty, I almost forgot your super chat. Thank you for the $10 super chat. She says, Anita, I appreciate your representation of traditional and Christian women with so much class. And I have two more here, and I just want to reemphasize a lot of not every home is teaching this, what Anita just talked about. Being feminine, being a helpmeet, feminine energy. So you might have been born into a certain tribe and they haven't taught that. And so you might have to go seek help or seek guidance and wisdom from a therapist or a counselor or someone else.
Yeah,
if you realize you don't have it.
Yep.
Okay. Because that may be the case. Two more questions. Anita, so going back to couples therapy and couples counseling, is it a warning sign if you're just in the boyfriend-girlfriend stage and you haven't even decided you guys are going to get married? Is it a warning sign if you have to go to couples counseling and couples therapy that early and to invest resources at that stage? Or is that normal for boyfriends and girlfriends today to go to couples counseling to even decide if they want to get to the marital phase?
Okay, so this is a great question. I love this question. I have a little bit of a rule. People hate that word, but I'm going to use it. Anything egregious that happens in the first 12 months of you dating, you probably need to just eject out of that relationship. What is something egregious? If there is any physical violence, if there is any infidelity, if there is stealing of any kind or aggression of any kind, Let me think of something else that's really egregious. But anything egregious that happens in those first 12 months of getting to know a person, I want you to believe it. Like, that's not something for you to work through. You're too early in the dating process to put up with BS. So if something egregious happens in the first 12 months, I want you to see that as God's protection, as a blessing, and I want you to eject from that relationship. Just say, whoa, that was close. Oh, I almost got caught up there. If you make it past 12 months and you are truly invested in the relationship, then I want you to start to assess this relationship for premarital. Are we headed there? Are we headed towards something real and something permanent? And yes, you should seek counsel. You should seek coaching or counsel to assess if we are aligned and if we are a good fit. That should happen prior to even getting engaged. Are we a good fit and are we aligned? So any form of pre-engagement or premarital therapy, yes. That will save a lot of people a lot of heartache. Okay? And then once you get engaged, now you're going to probably come once a month until your wedding to make sure that you've covered all of those major bases about your marriage and your relationship and the expectations of it and all of that. So you want to make sure you have a really good, solid foundation in which to build on. But yes, if you make it past the first 12 months, nothing crazy has happened, and you're like, wow, we made it through our first year, and I want to see if this has legs to really go somewhere. Yes, I think it is a good idea to say, I think we need to sit down with someone. It could be a coach, it could be a counselor or therapist, and really assess, are we aligned and are we a good fit for one another? I think that could, stave off a lot of heartache, a lot of breakups, divorces, if people did that early on.
So Anita, let me ask you this. So if you're a well-intentioned young man who hasn't learned how to set boundaries or say no, and within that first year, you're experiencing disrespect and slick talk and greasy talk, and maybe I'm just too strong a woman for you, and how long do you stay in and try to prove that you can take it?
No, you don't. You say, hey, this doesn't work for me. Hey, I just want to share something with you that, I don't see myself in a long-term relationship with someone who doesn't respect me. What does that mean? Well, then you give her examples of the disrespect. And
Okay.
if it continues, you reject.
Okay.
You reject. You don't spend a lot of time, saying the same thing over and over and over. You accept the fact that you and this person are not aligned. It's like how I feel about profanity. That's a deal breaker for me. I will not have someone communicate to me in that way. I'm never going to communicate to you in that way. I don't do the name calling. I don't do the threatening and the aggressive speech. That's a deal breaker for me. That's hey, this doesn't work for me. This makes me uncomfortable. This doesn't bring about a good feeling when I think of you, and, hopefully this is something that you can abate. But if it isn't, we're not a good fit for one another.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And it's taken time, but one of my earliest lessons in self-love was reading Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, yes.
And it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't, finding safe people to talk to,
Yep.
like you can get out of toxic situations that before then it just didn't register that maybe you would need to get out of a toxic, harmful situation. And harm can be verbal. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be verbal. But if you weren't taught about self-love, to the audience, if you weren't taught about self-love and setting boundaries, those are tools you're going to need when getting involved with someone. Okay.
For sure. But that, I'm going to recommend another excellent book for every man listening. It's called The Masculine in Relationship by G.S. Youngblood. So there are several books that I require my male clients to read. The Masculine in Relationship, No More Mr. Nice Guy, The Way of the Superior Man. There's another one. There's one more that I'm missing, but those are required reading. And men have to understand that it is about balance. You don't have to be the alpha tough guy all the time, but you definitely shouldn't be the beta cuck. Like there is something in between. There's a balance that a man must strike. He can be tender. There will be moments where he will be tender, and then there'll be moments where he'll be more assertive or aggressive. And you need to know how to balance that. So that is the job of every man. It's just like light and dark feminine. And I tell women this, I am not light feminine 24/7. There are moments when a man pushes against my boundaries and that sparks my dark feminine. Yeah. So we have to know how to balance both of those things. And it's the same with being a gatekeeper, right? Every key does not open my lock. Like, no, I'm good. Well, yeah. I thought you was, no, you don't have a key that opens this lock. And that women need to be taught that because they're nice girls. There are nice girls that are taught that, be a good girl and don't say anything and let people treat you any kind of way. No, you need to learn that balance as well. Okay, but here is the biggest piece of advice I have for people, period. When you invest in finding a good person, right? Just find a good, safe person. You can be the best version of yourself with that person. And that's what we're not doing. That's the confusion. We try to give like the best part of us to all the wrong people. And we wonder why it doesn't work out. And then we feel bitter. Oh, I tried to be a good man. I tried to give her everything. I'm like, but you picked the wrong person. So now when a decent woman comes along, you're bitter and you're jaded and you're, she's going to try to use me, and all this. It's so weird. But I'm like, I want men and women put all your focus on vetting. I put all my focus on vetting. I make sure that the people that come in my life are good people. And then I just relax. Like once I know they're good, I'm like, woo, okay, now I can just relax. Like I can be the best version of me and they can get the best version of me. See? So we don't talk about that enough. I think it's poor vetting. It's on the front end. That's what's burning us.
Mm-hmm. Well, Anita, if you think about, men were visual, so looks are the first thing we see. For ladies, ladies consider looks too, but also the car you drive, your footwear, your frames, and your fragrances. We talked about Kevin earlier, but we tend to, what's your zodiac sign? We tend to stop at those things: job title versus the foundational, substantive things that you described.
Yeah, okay. And that stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah. Last question. So, we shouldn't live our lives based upon what celebrities do. I agree with that. But since these people are putting themselves out there, Claudia Jordan, Tracy Ellis Ross, Tia Mowry, are these cautionary tales for ladies?
For sure. And I'm actually glad that they're talking about their experience. They most definitely are cautionary tales. And, women have often criticized me. They say that a lot of the things that I tell young women are scare tactics, or what's the other thing they say, that you're just trying to scare people. No, baby, this is real. Like I've lived almost 58 years. And what do I have to gain? That's what, I want people to critically think. What do I have to gain by lying to you? Like what's, people have called me a grifter. Really? because I'm not rich. I'm not rolling in the dough. I'm not super famous. What's the grift? Like, explain it to me. Other than the fact that I feel called to do this work, and I feel like people need the truth. Like, what else do I have to gain by lying to you all or scaring you? I mean, because I often tell people this. I could shut all my stuff down. I could, be in my beautiful life and do what it is I enjoy doing, and my life would be, perfectly fine. It really would. I would be perfectly happy. My life would be perfectly fine. I would keep helping the people I help out here in the real world. And, I don't understand why people say that. It is a cautionary tale. And I'm glad that they're talking about it, that, the truth, which I'm about to state. Okay. So investing in a woman's beauty, that is a stock that's going down every single day. Okay. Period. So a woman must have value outside of youth and beauty. Because if a man is simply saying, darn, she look good. Okay, bro, because if that's the stock that you investing in, that stock is going down. Okay, that stock is not going up. So pick someone who has value outside of youth and beauty. But to the woman, okay, you need somebody to buy when that stock is at its highest. like, okay, you need someone to invest. Okay, when, and they hate that, but it's the truth. We can't wait until we're 40, 50, 60 because it's a penny stock, man. It's not gonna make no money. So yeah, they hate that truth, but it is the truth. And it's the reason why I tell women there should be something else that you bring of worth and value other than youth and beauty. Those women will still have value because they bring value other than youth and beauty.
Yeah. Well, I Anita, as you were saying that, I was thinking, we talked about, Kevin's show earlier. There were things that you didn't agree with, or things that I didn't agree with, but yourself, Crimson, Shahrazad Ali, I think one of the hard parts about this talk is that there are parents and mothers who taught their girls this, but now this makes them, I think, look back and say, did I teach them the right thing? Okay,
Right.
Did I sign their death warrant? Did I cut off the potential of them having children and me having grandchildren? So I think that's
Right.
where this conversation causes a lot of people to look in the mirror and say, did I teach the wrong thing? Did I set the wrong example?
And a lot of them did. And think about it. There are women, even Gen X women, they may have had a bad marriage or a bad experience with a man. And so they swung their daughters clear over to the other side. I've never told my daughters they don't need a man. I tell them they need a good man. Get a good man. And when I tell you, your whole world will open up. Get a good man. And I've taught them how to vet. That's the key. They refuse to identify what a good man is. And can I be frank? A lot of them don't know what a good man is. So how are they going to teach something that they don't even know? But we need to focus on the vetting and on the front end, because there are a lot of great people out here, great women and great men, and we need to know how to identify them. And we also need to know how to identify the people that are not worth partnering with, that are not worth our time, energy, and effort.
Okay. Anita, I'm going to give you a round of applause here. And then I'm going to, we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Everybody, Anita Stoudmire. The question came up in the chat, Anita, where can I find your books?
Okay, so the first two books that I've written are over on Amazon. You can buy a physical copy of them. You can get them on Kindle. I have a new book that's coming out this Friday, January 23rd. It will be free for 24 hours on my Pillar link. So from 12:01 to 11:59, that is an ebook, and it is called The 21 Feminine Principles, Rules Every Feminine Woman Should Live By. It is an ebook form, and you can get it for free this Friday, January 23rd. It's in the link in my Instagram bio. If you go over to Better Love Movement, my YouTube channel, you'll see my pillar link there, and you can get a free copy on that day. After that day, it'll be for sale. But my first 2 books are over on Amazon. You can buy them there in hard copy, paperback, or Kindle.
Okay. And where, for the people unfamiliar with you, I think everybody watching is familiar with you, but for those watching this on the playback and they're unfamiliar, where can they find you?
So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, it is Better Love Movement. My website is betterlovemovement.com. My pillar link is pillar.io/Better Love Movement. So if you put in Better Love Movement, you will find me in all of the platforms.
Okay. Julia Hit 460 says, "You are awesome, Anita. Truly appreciate you. Your advice helped me think twice about relationships."
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, everybody, before we hop off, just a very quick advertisement. Anita is my honored guest, so get her book first.
Yeah.
But I wrote one as well. It's
right.
called The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. It's a story about what sports teach you about life, and it's it very much revisits something I talked about in our discussion, is that if no one teaches you, you have to go out and find the information yourself.
Yeah.
This is available on Amazon in the ebook, hardcover, and paperback editions, and I'm selling signed copies here out of my dwelling. $27 for the hard copy for you guys here, and then $22 for the paperback. You could use one of those methods in the ticker, or you could go to my online blog, which should be below.
All right.
If you send me your payment information using the ticker, send me your mailing address as well. Anita, do you have anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. I mean, my goal is to empower women in a healthy way, okay? Because feminism is selling empowerment in a very unhealthy way. And it's not something I can support because it doesn't support women. Feminism does not help women, and it does not support women. So yeah, most people know that about me, that, why don't you support feminism? Because it's not good for women and children. And that's what I'm all about. So
Anita, since we're ending with feminism, there was one vocabulary word that you mentioned quite a bit in the beginning, and that's polarity. And just briefly, that's just that there are two separate. There's a male pole and a female.
Yep. Pole. Yep. And we maintain the pull. We maintain the balance. We maintain even our spark by having one of each. So we must have one of each. And if we are both on the same side, whether that's all masculine or all feminine, like that will kind of push us away. That's why masculine men will often say, yeah, these women are like very unattractive to me. Like they don't make me want to be with them no matter how beautiful they are. And it's the energy, right? Their energy is combative. It is competitive. See, those are male energies, and so it's just like most straight men don't want to be with other men. They don't want to be with women, in that masculine energy. So ladies, I believe that this is normal and natural and healthy, but because of the propaganda, because of everything that we've been taught, we've been taught not to be in that energy, not to embrace that energy. And if I'm being honest, women have been incentivized to be in their masculine energy, right? So that's why they do it. They have been incentivized to be in that masculine energy. But, like I said, I'm going to do my best to try to turn that around to say, no, there are more benefits to being in that primary feminine energy. And remember, we have both. I'm in a platform right now where I am predominantly in that masculine energy. I'm talking, I'm answering questions and things of that nature. However, When this is over, I'm going to go downstairs and make a really good meal. I'm going to probably pet my cat, take my dog out. I'm going to now fall back into that feminine energy state and relax. I'm going to relax for the rest of the day. I may do something creative. So again, it's really about balance. It's about knowing when to balance those energies. That's really important.
Anita, you mentioned assertiveness. Is assertiveness and masculine energy the same thing?
No, assertiveness can be in either gender and either energy. I tend to call it dark feminine on the female side. It's more of a dark feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just being able to be very direct, to know what you want, and to know what you don't want. I think a man or a woman can be assertive. And I honestly, I want women to learn how to be assertive in a healthy way, because I feel like sometimes they let things go that they shouldn't. So I definitely want to see men be assertive. Like I said, that's a very attractive quality in a man. But I teach women how to be assertive in a way that protects them, right? Because remember, until you're with a really good man, until you're married to a good man, you do have to protect yourself. And if you don't have a father or a brother or a male family member, right? A woman has to know how to protect herself. And so that's where that assertiveness can come in.
Okay. I'll mention this really, really quickly.
Okay.
You did mention in one of your offerings that sometimes when you meet men, the fact that you're a YouTuber, that can cause that's everybody. That's a thing. When you're a YouTuber,
it's a
thing. You meet somebody, that's a thing for both men and women. Why do you have to keep doing that? I don't like what you're talking about. I just wanted to add that in there. But hey, let me let you go. Yeah. So Anita, thank you.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. So everybody, I'm going to end this. I always say, as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a good weekend, y'all.
Anita, hang on for 1 second.
Okay.